This week, Emmet and I discuss issues 5 and 6 of Jack Kirby's Black Panther, a crazy ride featuring a yeti and some samurai, neither showing up where they should geographically, as well as a nuclear missile, which can show up anywhere it wants to. First, I want to thank our patrons for helping to keep the show going. You can pitch in by pledging at least $2 a month at patreon.com/deconcomics. This is Tim.
This is Emmet.
And this is Deconstructing Comics. Welcome to Deconstructing Comics. This is Tim in Tokyo with Emmet in Country Victoria, Australia. How's it going?
I have seen a lot of Country Victoria this morning. I've been driving the dusty roads of Victoria. I schlepped all the way out to Ballarat and then did an immediate turnabout and came all the way back again just for this conversation, Tim. Let's talk about Black Panther. I am tired. I am drinking a Pepsi Max. Let's go.
Did you see any kangaroos this morning?
Didn't see any kangaroos, actually. That is something. So lots of sheep. So lots of bad driving. People were overtaking me on an 80 road, and I was going, guys, I mean, how fast do you need to be? These country roads, because it's not like a freeway. These are the old main roads. That are still in use in some parts of the state. So you're going through fields, and it was reminding me of Ireland, actually, the old road to Galway. You're going through fields, and there are 80 kilometer per hour, 100 kilometer per hour speed limits, and then people were like zooming past me, going 120, 130, and I was like, where do you need to be? If something comes around that corner, you're dead.
Yeah, and of course that's kilometers, not miles per hour, but
it's kilometers.
Yeah, because it's not America. So,
right.
I don't have a conversion table handy, but anyway. So we're getting back to Black Panther by Jack Kirby from the 70s, 78, 77, 78, issues 5 and 6. So it actually gets a little bit Wakanda-y this time.
We get some Wakanda finally.
Yeah,
You're
finally.
learning more about the land. Yeah.
Also, it hit me just yesterday, the day before, as I was reading these. Abner Little Abner.
Stuck in this still. You're still stuck in this. Yeah, Little Abner. Yeah.
Little Abner.
Good work.
A coincidence? I think not.
I think not. Dick York, Dick Sargent.
And then also Abner Doolittle. So Doolittle Abner, I don't know. But it seems like he must have had, I mean, he gives characters these names referring to other characters. We had Silas Mourner, who comes up again this time, and I can't really see any connection between the Kirby character. I was reading the Wikipedia summary of Silas Marner this morning, and like, this has nothing to do with Silas Mourner.
It's just a pun. Silas Marner is a very grim read. George Eliot, incredible writer. She was something of a genius. I had to study Silas Marner in school. I think I read it. I was like, this is boring. And then I had this teacher. He's one of those teachers who really drew out the text for the class. And I realized two things. One, I have a very good teacher. Two, I'm a terrible reader. I was like, I missed all of that stuff. All of that was over my head. But yeah, Silas Mourner, he's one of the collectors. So the implication is that he is he's just fixated on his wealth. And that is a theme in Silas Marner.
Okay.
One of the sons is so parsimonious, like that's he's greedy, and he does this terrible thing. And the child who is adopted by Silas Marner, that's a separate plot line. So Silas's story is separate from that initial issue with the gold. But I think that's what we're being led back to, is this idea of greed above all else.
Right, yeah, and Panther keeps condemning the collectors as greedy.
Yes. So I think that's the
Okay.
and also the pun, Silas Marner, he's so desiccated by greed he looks like a corpse.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But does Abner Little live in Dogpatch? I don't think so. I don't see the connection there, but he's not a hillbilly. Anyway, so issue 5 cover, we've got Panther fighting a yeti.
Is this a variant rule for if you want more sales, put a gorilla on your cover?
Could be.
Put a yeti on your cover? Or is it the same rule?
Yeah, close enough. It looks a little bit gorilla-like.
Yeah.
I wonder how this issue sold. Beginning the most savage quest of all, it says.
Yeah, it does get interesting because these issues were humdingers. Lots happened.
Oh yeah,
a lot of action. But I did have the thought. So you've got one hidden secret nation versus another hidden secret nation, and now there's a third hidden secret nation, and it's always okay. And there's almost this pecking order as to which is the most secret and most hidden nation.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of that going around. Who knows how many hidden secret nations there are. I had a little trouble understanding the splash page because Panther seems to be peering in between pieces of machinery, but apparently they're just kind of decoration to the panel because when you turn the page, he's not peering through anything.
Yeah, Samurai is just on the table, on the observation table. I don't know if he was... no. I think right, because the perspective completely shifts. You're right. Because the doctor and... Okay, yeah, that is odd. I think it's just to indicate modern technology in this collector base, allowing him to...
Yeah, I think it's kind of just set the feeling of where we are.
Yeah,
the location. Even if it doesn't quite make logical sense.
Well, look, it's Jack Kirby. You give him a panel, he'll give you a circuit board. That's it's going to happen.
Right. Well, yeah, that's one of his specialties. So, but Panther is looking at the samurai that he was fighting last issue, who has now suddenly kind of shriveled up and died. He looks like a really old man lying on the table there, dead. And Panther can't quite believe it, but Princess Xanda says that the samurai deteriorated shortly after. Like he left his home, hidden secret nation, hidden secret city, and so he lost the kind of fountain of youth qualities of the water that they drink there.
Yeah, this is there's a very funny line coming up in one of these issues where Black Panther calls attention to a trope and it says, "But it works, let's do it." But this is another thing where the story of like a person comes from a land of eternal youth and they leave that place and they immediately get hit like a truck by time and they die shortly afterwards. There's the ancient Irish myth of Tir na Og, where Oisin is brought to Tir na Og. He meets this beautiful woman. He goes to Tir na Og, and then eventually decides to come home, and then he just dies straight away.
Yeah, there's a similar story in Japanese lore.
Right. This is a really interesting idea.
Urashima Taro, yeah.
So there must be some sort of idea that was being sort of confronted by these storytellers. Was saying, "Oh yeah, sure, you can have a mortal life, but you're gonna have to hang out in this molten lava pit or whatever for the rest of your life. You don't get to leave, or you don't get to leave that secret veil, or you don't get to leave that underground cavern. You're stuck there.
Yeah.
If you want to live forever, sure, but you can't walk about and tell everybody else how to get there. You'll die straight away."
In the Japanese version, it's under the ocean that he's immortal, and as soon as he goes back to land, he's an old man.
So similar to Tir na Og. Tir na Og is also like it's somewhat hidden in the ocean. Okay, interesting, because again, there's this idea that these stories travel much further than we give them credit for traveling.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. It could have traveled over centuries from Japan to Ireland or the other direction. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of similar idea, or maybe just similar ideas pop up everywhere.
Yeah, simultaneous. Yeah.
And so the samurais died, and Panther is kind of angry at Xanda, because he thinks she's just going to put the samurai in with her other curiosities who are in formaldehyde tanks, these other kind of strange creatures there. He calls her a cold-blooded female.
Yeah, a great Kirby insult, you know. When it comes to strong women, he was cold-blooded female. But then immediately she puts a move on him, like straight away.
yeah. Several panels later, she's putting the moves on him and saying, "Don't fight me, Black Panther. I am the daughter of an emir. I wish to be gentle, but I don't know how." He says, "To be gentle means to blend your emotions with those of others. I could do that with one such as you," she says. "Can you? Can you really give instead of take?" So he's not quite buying it, but yeah, she'd like to get involved with him. But then Abner Little shows up in some egregiously miscolored samurai armor. But I guess that in this, it's not even Japan. In this African samurai diaspora, they've gradually evolved the materials or colors of the armor. I don't know.
Right. Okay. So that was a point I wanted to ask. So yeah, I love that the samurai dies and then immediately they're fighting over his possessions. That's great because they're just horrible people.
Yeah.
But is the secret nation hidden on the African continent, or is it somewhere again? Because later on we see they traveled quite a ways.
Well,
it's taken them some time to get to wherever they get
It's unclear, but I got the impression last time that it was somewhere in Africa, like near the Atlas Mountains. But but it is vague. I'm not sure where it is. And Japan hasn't even been mentioned, I don't think. It's just like these samurai kind of show up wherever.
And we get Ronin later, but yeah, it's still this idea of they're from there, but they went away. They talk about the continuity. They talk about they're aware of the continuity of what's happened to the samurai in Japan, but they're saying, well, we never stopped. We kept going. We left. They don't say we left Japan.
I'm also not sure if Kirby knows what Ronin actually means, but it's a masterless samurai.
That was what I thought too. I was like, well, then you're not with the people you're with. That's what you are.
Yeah, because these samurai have masters, so they're by definition not Ronin.
I do love two white guys stating for a fact they know what a Ronin is. Always cool. It's cool, people. It's cool.
Well, I live in Japan, so that's my excuse.
You got more of an excuse than I do.
And Frank Miller knew what it meant, but anyway. So Panther's ready to bug out. He says, "I am overdue in my own native land." But the collectors stop him from leaving because they want him to go get some of that Fountain of Youth water, what they call water skin. I don't know, Kirby and naming things, whatever. But not only do they want him to do it, he's being blackmailed into doing it because Xanda has pointed a nuclear warhead at Wakanda. Nuclear missile. So leaves him with no choice, basically.
Yeah, it does introduce some stakes, finally.
Yeah.
Because I think you were asking the question in the previous episode. You're asking, so why is Black Panther with these people?
Yeah.
How did this happen? So in a roundabout way now we've come to now we have a reason for this all to unfold. I did like the page where all the other collectors arrive because it gave evidence of, and this is something comics have been doing for a long time, but now it's something people are noticing. They're calling it the Netflix effect, which is the characters continually reintroduce themselves and explain what they're doing. Because they know that people watching Netflix are on their phone. So it's a second screen experience. So you're constantly having to, well, I, Silas Marner, I'm here to talk about this. You know? That's what we see here. In comic books, it makes sense because in comic books, there was this expectation. Every comic book is somebody's first comic book, potentially. You know, so you do need to reestablish facts.
Yeah.
It is very unnatural dialogue. But I enjoy that now Netflix is doing what comic books used to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or like TV used to do that too for the reason that people were not scrolling their phone in the 1960s, but, doing the ironing or something. Well, that, because a lot of Paul has mentioned
soap operas. Yeah.
My brother has mentioned on our Batman podcast that, there's so much, especially in older TV, maybe Netflix TV too, but like people saying out loud what's happening on the screen in case you're not looking at the screen. Oh no, Scooby-Doo fell down a trap door. Yeah, we just saw it, but yeah, in case you were looking at something else.
Plus de chance, plus de même chose. But yeah, I just want to call attention. But Silas Marner introduces himself again by name. Silas Marner, sorry.
Marner, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's this kind of the comics thing too. Every issue, yeah, exactly as you were saying. Like, if you read, especially like John Byrne Fantastic Four, you'll have the names in boldface. Sue, Johnny, when they're talking to each other, unnaturally stating each other's names, just so in case the readers never read Fantastic Four before. So, Panther and Abner Little are going to go look for this fountain of youth and try to bring back some of this water. And they're using some kind of flying craft that came from Princess Xanda. And Panther's worried about the threat of the nuclear missile, but Abner Little says, oh, poppycock and balderdash. No, he says boulderdash. Okay. I'm not sure what boulderdash is. It's something to do with boulders. If we don't return, she'll have no need to use the bomb.
Which, given what we see happens later, is Little just being a little shit here. Like, because there is a plan for Wakanda. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if he's just keeping Black Panther sweet the entire time.
Okay.
Don't worry about that. Like, she's not going to use the bomb. She's not going to use the bomb. Why use the bomb? It would be insane, Tim. It would be insane for someone to threaten to use the bomb.
Yeah, nobody would ever do that.
No one would ever do that. I mean, I don't mean to delay this further, but like, I did love on the previous page, you've got this exchange. This is the true meaning of power. As ruler of an oil-rich emirate, I have the means to enforce my every wish. Do my bidding, or the Wakandas cease to exist. And then Black Panther replies, my people, held hostage by a group of mad collectors. A strange destiny indeed. And I read that page of them, topical.
Yeah. So then their craft is blasted out of the sky by someone who we only see his foot, basically. And yeah, it's set on fire by the ship or by the ray, and it crashes, and they jump out into water, into a lake, as the ship crashes into the lake. And Panther saves Abner Little and his monocle that he was afraid he'd almost lost. And we see a guy who apparently is one of the samurai from his helmet. He's using binoculars that are not usual samurai gear, looking at them saying, fortune favors the intruders, they live, but not for long.
Kirby binoculars, and they've got that lovely Kirby aesthetic again, and they're a pair of binoculars. But yes, he's sort of we will learn, like he will say, "Oh yes, we're observing your technology, and we've adapted to your technology later on." But even at the time, I was saying, "You're using lasers. You got these fancy binoculars. Like this is sci-fi technology. This is super sci-fi technology. This is not like contemporary 1970s technology."
No.
But in the world that the samurai is observing, you've got the Fantastic Four, and you've got Quinjets, and you've got all sorts of strange super tech floating around. So sure, whatever. That's where you learn lasers from.
Hey, I'm Jen.
And I'm Sean. We're here to tell you about our podcast, Worst Collection Ever.
And this is the show where we tell you about the worst comic book collection in existence. And it just happens to belong to us.
We have some of the worst comics from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. They're bad.
Terrible.
They're not worth anything.
No good.
Why do we own them?
Bad.
I own a number of issues of Terror Inc. and Guy Gardner.
Basically, we go around to local comic book stores and we buy everything we can out of dollar boxes.
We tell you about the weird stuff in them. We tell you about stuff that's related to them. We go into tangents. And we're very uninformed, so...
Oh my god, totally. But totally check out our podcast because you'll hear us just talk and joke about Marvel books and DC books from God only knows when.
That's right. It's our show, Worst Collection Ever, every Tuesday on iTunes, Stitcher, anywhere you get your podcasts. Download, rate, subscribe, tell a friend.
It'll be good and terrible, but good.
In our years of podcasting about Batman 66, Paul and I have covered a number of parodies and rip-offs of the show, from Mad Magazine to Batfink. But a listener has informed us of another one, Batty Man, from the March 1988 issue of Cracked Magazine. Even more than a year out from the first Michael Keaton Batman movie, interest was running high with still very little known about the film, so cast reunions and flashbacks of the 66 show were numerous. Yeah, so the first and last panels of the story have narration on top of a picture of a bunch of bats, and it's really hard to read. I think I figured out what it says, but it's painful to try to read it. At Stately Payne Manor, home of millionaire
speaking of painful,
Bruce Bane, and his Bruce Bane and his youthful ward Dick Greason, we find the two quietly studying their award-winning collection of rare jelly jars. And Bruce mentions one with Fred and Barney on it. Boy, did that bring back memories, because we had some of those Flintstones Welch's jelly jars.
Body
made of super thin glass that was so easy to break.
Yep. In fact, my Battlestar Galactica novelty glass broke a few years ago, just from like sitting on the shelf. The glass was so thin. But why jelly jars? Why is this opening with? Is it just like something for them to do, like stamp collecting? Because we know that
I guess
Bruce and Dick were involved in those kinds of hobbies.
Yeah, it was kind of trying to come up with something a little bit more ridiculous than the bird watching and the stamp collecting and the chess and all that that we see at the start of the show. So collecting jelly jars with the Flintstones on them. How does this parody stack up with the others we've discussed? Find out by listening to Bat Bits. Subscribe to our Patreon for at least $2 a month, or for $4 a month, you'll get that and our monthly discussion of Silver Age Batman comics, as Paul or another in our stable of co-hosts joins me to examine individual Batman stories from the 1950s and 60s. Most recently, Kumar and I discussed the origin of Killer Moth from Batman 63. To sign up for all this Bat content, visit patreon.com/deconcomics today. Thank you, citizen. So this samurai is going to summon the guardian of the gateway, who we can see in the shadows is the Yeti from the cover.
And he summons the Yeti by blowing on a horn, and the sound effect is Tara, But I love it because I'm imagining a sort of fancy Cockney lady going Tara.
Okay.
Given we've had Boulder Dash and all that already, you know. Bit of Cockney vibes, English vibes.
And Abner's concerned about the horn, having heard that horn sound, and Panther doesn't really care. He's just kind of had it with the whole collector thing, and it's got Abner by the scruff of his shirt. But Abner's more worried about the horn, and we're not alone here. Others are here. And then Panther sees over Abner's shoulder the Yeti is looking down on them. And I was surprised that Panther is unfamiliar with the word Yeti. I mean, there aren't any Yetis in Wakanda, I don't think. But I was, I don't know what this Yeti's even doing here, because this is not like Canada or something. But Abner explains that it's the proper name for an abominable snowman. So, yeah, it seems kind of out of place here. But anyway.
The association seems to be Yeti, Tibet. Tibet is in Asia. Therefore, rules of transitive properties. The Yeti is here in the secret Oriental nation society.
Anybody can turn up anywhere here. Samurai, sure. Yeti, whatever.
Yeah. Why not? But again, like if Christopher Priest was referencing this story in his run, we will find out, oh no, I knew what a Yeti was the entire time, but I needed to pretend not to know so that he wouldn't suspect me of being more worldly than I am. You know?
Now, I kept noticing in these issues, every time Panther gets into a fight, he has to pull on his mask. His ritual mask, it always tells us. Which, I don't know, like I said last time, seems counterintuitive because it would limit his peripheral vision, but whatever. That's the requirement of his customs, I guess. When he has a fight, he has to wear the ritual mask. Maybe Kirby is just kind of trying to emphasize here, no, he's not a superhero. Not a superhero. He's a ruler of a country, and he's got these rituals, these tribal rituals or whatever that he has to follow.
It's tribal garb.
Not a superhero, even though he's in the Avengers.
Spying on them. No, it is. I do like it, though. I do like it as a little detail that he's, all right, put on my mask. Need to take a punch.
So then he has a couple pages of fight with the Yeti. And the Yeti's like throwing boulders at him and Abner as they're trying to get away. It's more than a couple pages, quite a few pages of fight here. And finally,
it's a good fight. Like there's nice little beats. There's lots of little athletic moments, just demonstrating that Black Panther is very good at moving around, repositioning in the battlefield.
And he gets Abner to help him.
Abner has got a bit of a comedic moment where he just keeps shooting his gun. It doesn't accomplish anything. And he's like, stop shooting your gun. It's a waste of bullets.
Just antagonizing him. Yeah. But then
the point of the fight is to demonstrate Black Panther's intelligence. Which is what we see. But it's a very literal eureka moment. But yes.
And then he has Abner set up kind of a seesaw that's just a slab of rock, and put another rock on one end, and then Panther lands on the other end, and it throws the boulder straight into the Yeti's face and knocks him out enough that they can get away. But then
I noticed that too. I noticed they don't kill him.
No.
They don't kill the creature. Yeah, which is interesting.
No, they're sure he's going to wake up and they got to get out of there. But then another horribly miscolored samurai shows up and says, if they think he might be a guide, but he says, if I guide you, stranger, it shall be to the realm of demons. It is the law of the Ronin. Your fate has been decreed by the sword. Prepare to die. End of issue. Okay. So, issue 6. What do we got here? So, Panther fighting with swords against at least 4 or 5, 6 samurai. and Abner is in the mouth of some figure, some animal figure.
Well, we'll see what that is in this issue. Yes. I when you keep calling attention to the miscoloring, so you're referring to the actual armor itself. You're saying the armor isn't correctly colored.
Would not be colored that way. Yeah, it looks like it's Saturday morning cartoon
right
samurai dress.
It's very rich color scheme, though. It for a comic book page, like it draws the eye.
Yeah, it's more brightly colored than any samurai armor you would see in a museum or look up on Google.
Okay.
The earlier one that Abner was wearing was colored like it was European steel armor.
Yeah. And, well, it's sort of reminiscent of, there's the Marvel character, the Silver Samurai, which calls attention to the fact that he's wearing silver.
Right.
But then it reminded me of that. It reminded me of that Silver Samurai character, just what he was wearing in a panel.
So the samurai that we met at the end of the last issue is swinging his sword at Panther. Panther jumps out of the way, and Abner, as he says, almost gets scalped by it. We can see the sword has torn the cloth thing that he was wearing on his head.
This opening page sort of breaks the Kirby model a bit, because this is like his 2-3 splash page sequence, but this is the title page. We're getting a lot of those same similar action beats. And then when we turn to page 2, we go to grid. So we don't have the
2-page second panel. Yeah.
Which is usually like a extensive action beat with lots of drama. That's all here, because you've got your attempted scalping. You've got Panther leaping vertically. You've got the samurai like delivering all this exposition and swinging a sword. It feels like a condensed splash page.
Yeah, I'm thinking the first pages of these Kirby comics we've been reading the past few years haven't tended to have this kind of action.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's maybe he just had a lot
establishing point of view.
He had a lot to cram into the issue, apparently.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah. Where was it in here? I guess it wasn't this fight, but we have a place where Panther's dialogue is so hackneyed, where he says, like, 2 can play at that game. Like, how many thousands of times have I heard that in various TV shows, comics, movies, whatever?
Doesn't he just say far out at one point? He says something's far out. Yeah, it's very of the period. Yeah.
Well, yeah, sometimes his dialogue doesn't feel very Panther-like.
Well, we were already coming to that with Steve, with Captain America, Steve Rogers, where he was saying things that were of the moment ago. Well, Steve Rogers wouldn't talk like that because he is a man out of time.
Right.
Even if he was attempting to fit in, he's using it in a really strange way.
But I think it's later in this issue with the huge gong, and Panther says something from off panel about being ready for a 12-hour headache or something, which didn't feel like something Panther would say. But this version of Panther, I don't know, maybe everybody talks like Jack Kirby, I suppose. So Panther defeats this samurai, but then this creates a cultural clash, because Panther's code of ethics is to show mercy to someone he's defeated, but the samurai expects to be killed. And if he's left alive, having lost his sword to his opponent, then that's shame for him. And so they're not sure how to resolve it. And so they decide that the samurai's leader should be the one to decide. So they're going to go talk to him.
I was reading this, and it occurred to me that all those guys making Predator movies in the 80s and 90s, and up until Reasonable Predator Badlands. Pretty good movie, Tim. I know you will never watch it because it's horror. But I was like, they just want to be making movies about Japanese samurai, like from the pulp era, where they're these exotic sort of almost creatures. Like that's how they're not depicting samurai as like people. They've got this strange code of honor and death before defeat and all this kind of ideas. And they've just transposed all those story beats onto the predator alien who has this weird code of honor. And there has been an animated movie where, yes, we got to see what happens when a traditional samurai from that period in time fights a predator. They got there. They finally got there. So that's clearly something they've been building to all this time. But I just had this moment of these guys they just want to be reading those Rock'em Sock'em true adventure magazines from the 30s and 40s, where the samurai would be this mythical, again, idea of a Japanese traditional warrior, but stripped of any context and any a very inflated, fantastical creation. Then you just made him an alien.
So, this is what you were talking about, where Abner Little says the proper authority can make the decision. Ask him to take us to his leader. And Panther says that's a worn cliche, but a sound idea. Whoever rules here is the one to solve this issue.
I love it. Again, it's kind of jokey dialogue, but it's very funny. It's like, yeah, I know this is a trope, I know this is a cliche, but let's just get through this. Let's go.
So in order to get in, they have to use this kind of key that looks like a gun, and it is a gun because the samurai shoots it at a target that causes the gate to open. Okay, whatever. And then there's an elevator in a cave, and they get in the very ornate elevator that goes down into the secret samurai city.
Yeah, this is where he says, as we samurais have not passed the centuries without keeping abreast of your technical achievements. That was where I got hung up on, what are you talking about? This is much more advanced. And I will allow for that. I will go, yeah, they're actually, their culture is so intelligent and sophisticated. They took these basic concepts and then they advanced upon them. Like I would go for that. And again, that's very in keeping with the idea of the original sort of William Moulton Marston Wonder Woman idea, which I really liked, where Paradise Island isn't just this tribal ancient Greek preserved society. No, they became advanced. They have all this really powerful technology, purple ray technology, all that stuff. And later writers got rid of all of that. No, they've just been hanging out in togas for thousands of years. Yeah, nothing developed on this patch of humanity at all. They just hung out. They're savages.
So, yeah. So if they're so isolated, how do they keep up with technical achievements? Well, apparently because their technology is advanced, they have Google in the 70s, so they can look up what's going on in the tech world, even though nobody else can yet.
I think what's implied is that they are actually leaving and going out into the world and then coming back.
Sure, okay.
Because that's how the collectors called that samurai. He left. So I think they are going out into the world. They're reporting back. They get back in time to take another hit of the juice and don't drop dead. So they are actually spying on the outside world and making sure that it's not a threat to them. So I think that's the implication.
Okay.
But it's not spelled out.
Yeah. They could also be subscribing to a lot of tech magazines.
Yeah, I'm not going to step on your joke, Tim.
But although I don't know if the postal service would deliver out there where they are, but
no, you made it real.
I didn't see a mailbox in any of these panels, so you would expect it to be at that gate. But anyway, so they go down into the city, okay, and this is where the gong is. Yeah, geez, he doesn't know what Ronin means. To think that all this was begun by 9 Ronin who fled ancient wars, it's almost inconceivable. Yeah, and then they have a master, so they're not masterless samurai. Anyway, yeah, so this gong, so that the same samurai that they're with says, there is no greater disaster than the loss of face by one who lived as a symbol of invincibility until this day. Let all who have looked reverently to the strength of Akito be witness to his miserable downfall. And he hits the gong. And we see Abner and T'Challa with their hands on their ears. Yeah, 6-month headache. This is where that line. I was apparently it's like because of his shame that he has to hit the gong. It wasn't quite clear to me.
Yeah, he's calling attention to he's gathering everybody to witness his having been shamed.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. And I do like that T'Challa has his empathy for him and is trying to say, no, please, like, let's work this out. How do we save your life? Like, that's T'Challa's sole concern now. Immediately after that gong gets hit, Abner's like, all right, we need to get the stuff. He's like Danny DeVito in Romancing the Stone. Like, he's like, all right, we're going to get the stuff now. Let's go.
We must locate the prize we came for and depart before these rituals kill us. But now they're surrounded by samurai with swords. But the samurai, Akito, he backs up their story of why they're there to kind of get this culture clash resolved. And so they're going to the head guy who is Shinzu. All right. Meanwhile, in Wakanda, for the first time in this series, in Wakanda, so there's like a coup attempt going on. This General Jakara,
well, it's an invasion. It's an invasion.
Yeah,
because it's Zanda's men. So yeah, I know what you mean by, but it's not internal. It's external. Like these are.
Okay, I didn't
this is what I was referring to earlier.
The connection to Xanda.
Well, I mean, I could be wrong, but they're wearing exactly the same uniforms, and you know, they look like the same soldiers she had.
Okay.
So I think she is supporting this coup from this heretofore unmentioned half brother we were about to meet, and I think the idea is that she was threatening Wakanda with the missile, but she already had plans. That's what I was referring to when I was saying, Abner is trying to distract T'Challa. Oh, don't worry about it. If we don't return, she won't launch the missile. Why would she? But she already had this plan in motion, which was to depose T'Challa.
This Regent Nagasi seems to be familiar with Jakara. Because when Jakara is saying, I was not only born small and frail, but the king's wife, my mother, was from another tribe. Do you know how it feels to be T'Challa's half-brother? Yeah. And on and on. And Nagasi says, long ago I knew this was in your heart, but I said nothing. So he is of Wakanda, but yeah, maybe he's connected to Xanda's country here.
Yeah.
She's taking advantage of the resentment that he had.
Well, you know, she identified herself as the daughter of an emir, and this looks like a sort of Shah arrangement being created here. So a lot of political commentary coming from Kirby here. we're going to install a Shah type regent and just take over this nation. That's what we do.
Jakara mentions that he's been busy in the vibranium mound, which of course is the source of a lot of the tech and treasure of Wakanda. And he says, this mystic metal guarded by our tribes has rare and surprising properties. They shall make me what I was meant to be, a world conqueror.
This is kind of interesting because it's sort of it will later be echoed by Killmonger, played by Michael B. Jordan in the Black Panther movie, which is that immediately I'm going to now take over the world. You install me, I become the Black Panther, I take over the world. That's the next step. Yeah, so it's sort of interesting, but it's a completely different character.
Yeah. Okay, then we go back to the samurai city, and they're meeting with Shinzu, the three of them, and so then they're talking about this problem they're trying to solve, but of course Abner is still focused on the water immortality. If T'Challa does win this match, it would be sporting of you to give us a sample of your water of immortality. And Shinzu says, it is the vain dream of all outsiders who seek out this domain. So, nope, not getting any. So Panther has to fight another guy, a very large man who comes in. And what Shinzu says, you shall fight again with the fist against one schooled in the art. So Panther beat this other guy with his fists, and so now he has to fight somebody who also fights with his fists.
Yeah, Akiru lost because he wasn't a jewel of honor. It wasn't a jewel using swords. So Shinzu agrees with the child. Okay, we'll take your word. This guy's going to punch the shit out of you.
And so while this fight is going on, then Abner sneaks away to try to get some of the water of immortality anyway.
We talked about tropes before, but is Abner not aware of these stories? Because what's going to happen is, sure, you steal the magical drink, right? You leave the area. The magical drink no longer works. Isn't that usually the sting of the tail? Is because the whole point is you need to be there.
Be in that location, yeah.
Yeah. The samurai who because it'll be like these special magical mineral waters, but they need to be in proximity to the source so that they retain that quality. There's going to be some rubbish like that. I haven't read ahead, so I don't know if that is the case. But the fact that they had a samurai who then died, and they're saying, oh, it's because he couldn't get to the water. But why didn't he take it with him? So I think that's the upshot is going to be. If you take it, it just won't work.
Yeah.
Once you leave,
it's just water then.
Yeah.
So we follow him as he's watching some samurai drinking this water and talking about how they immediately feel younger and stronger when they drink it. And then when they leave, then he grabs a jug of the water. And we go back to see Panther in this fist fight. And during the fight, then they hear gunfire from somewhere. And then there's a stampede of samurai chasing Abner carrying the jug of water, who says, forget that silly brawl, T'Challa, let's get out of here. And T'Challa thinks, that greedy little collector has done it again. Anything can happen now. And with the adrenaline of the moment, Panther just punches the other guy out. So he wins the fight and takes care of that. Okay, yeah, and here's where Abner is in the mouth of that figure. It looks a little bit different than it did on the cover, but it looks kind of clownish here, except it's all red and yellow.
But again, it's reminiscent of the high-tech chariot that they rode out in the previous issue. So it's a similar concept here.
And Panther's thinking, instead of rushing to Mr. Little's aid, I should join these samurai in hunting him down. So he's really had it with this guy.
Yeah, but now he's guilty by association. I mean, they would have just turned on him anyway. Like Shinzu, he's like, you've basically taken the piss. All right, killed him.
Yeah.
So it's all gone wrong because Abner had to get his magic juju juice.
Yeah, so trust in both of them is gone, not just Abner. So, and that's the end of the issue when Shinzu says, destroy them. So
I love the title, The Drums.
For the next issue, yes.
These were fun, man. These are fun issues. There was a lot of fighting, a lot of punching. I was talking to my partner on this morning while driving through the wilds of Victoria. But I was saying that like I'm reading some contemporary Marvel comics at the moment. I won't say which ones, and I'm left so cold by them. There's this sort of worn out feeling. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, let's go to the motions. Let's do this. Whereas I'm reading this comic from 40, 50 years ago, and it's so compelling. Like I'm genuinely engaged by the action and the storytelling. It's just a lot of fun. It's a yarn.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think this is like the halfway point. I think it's 12 issues.
Yeah.
This trade paperback doesn't have all 12 in it for some reason, but I can get them easily enough. So, okay. So, I guess that's it for this time. Emmett's going to be traveling a bit, and I'm going to be running reruns a bit, or may have already run a lot of reruns by the time you hear this. But I'm trying to read. So, Kumar and I are planning to do some more Alan Moore Swamp Thing, and it's become an unintentional custom of talking about Alan Moore Swamp Thing every 7 years. In 2012, he and I covered the first chunk of issues, and then in 2019, Coom and another guy did another chunk, and so now it's been 7 years again. And so we're thinking, okay, well, let's read the next chunk, but we want to read all the stuff that's already been covered first to refresh our memories. So
I was afraid what you were going to say was every time we talk about Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, a global disaster happens. I was afraid that's what you were saying.
No, I don't think so. Not that I'm aware. I mean, there are global disasters all the time anymore, it seems like. Yeah, but
how can you tell anymore? It's just constant. Just constant. To the point of exhaustion. But yes, very good. So that's next on the schedule.
Yeah. Also, I'm still trying to write my Batman book, and it's really hard to find the time. So, okay. But enjoyed this one, and we will come back for the remaining issues within not too much more time. Black Panther by Jack Kirby is published by Marvel. Follow us on Blue Sky at Decon Comics. Join our Facebook page or the more active group. Listen to our audio-only videos on YouTube. All of those are linked from deconstructingcomics.com, as is our voicemail. You can communicate with us via social media or drop us a line at mail@deconstructingcomics.com. And of course, we'd love it if you shared episodes with your friends and left us a review in Apple Podcasts or other podcast outlets. Are you making a comic? Send it to us and we'll do a Critiquing Comics episode about it. Our theme is by J.B. Anderton. The music backing the promo for Bat Bits is Adam West by The Caped Club, a parody of Wild Wild West by The Escape Club. This week's conversation with Emmet was recorded on April 18th. Since then, somehow in spite of the fact that we've had a new episode of this show every week, Kumar and I have completed our read-through of Alan Moore's entire Swamp Thing run, and we've recorded an episode on the final third of that run, issues 51 through 64, in which we see the title pull away from horror and embrace science fiction. I had never read these issues before, so I was surprised to see where the story went, including Swampy's confrontation with Gotham City and his planet hopping through space. Be here for our wrap-up of the Deconstructing Comics series on Alan Moore's Swamp Thing next week. Till then, this is Tim, and thanks for listening to Deconstructing Comics.